What's the last thing we want to do is burden our children and our spouses, our children, whoever we leave behind. And this is basically just what that will do is it eases the burden, and it really truly it lovingly guides your family through the process of closing your life.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nuske, and I just have to take a moment to thank you so very much for supporting the show. The feedback that you send through is just wonderful. It's warming. It's making all the difference, knowing that it's making a difference for you. Now, today we're going to be talking about a topic that people may find difficult to, address, and we're going to be doing that with the wonderful Dana Artzer. Welcome to the show, Dana.
It's fabulous to be here. Hello, everyone.
Now, Dana is a Medicare specialist. She's a retirement planner. She owns her own business. She's a book author and resides in Arizona. I'm wondering, what's the weather like over there at the moment?
Well, it was about 116 today. We actually have a storm blowing through right now outside, so I am praying really hard for a few raindrops, but I think it may miss us. We haven't had rain for 37 days, so we're ready.
Yeah, well, when I drove through there, I remember thinking I'm actually going to pass away. It was that hot, and we were in an open top Mustang traveling from, I think it was San Francisco to Las Vegas or somewhere we were going, but amazing country. But I digress. Now, Dana, you and I are going to be talking about something that's, again, it's quite difficult to talk about, but I think it's an essential topic, and it's the core reason that I'm really glad that you're on the show with us today. But before we jump into the core of the call, I always like to learn a little bit more about my guests, their background, what they like to do in their recreation time, just to give a bit of a scope to the call. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and the My Future Business audience?
Sure, not a problem. Well, I am 56 years young,
Mm-hmm.
and I am originally from California. But when I was, oh golly, probably about 24, 25, I ended up moving to Texas, and I met the love of my life in Texas, and we got married. We used to own a restaurant. We ended up here in Arizona to be closer to my mother, but not super close, if you know what I mean.
I
I love
certainly
her,
do.
but we wanted, and so, I used to be a personal trainer as well. So I came to Arizona, and it was very hard for me to do Skype training. So, I just realized that there were so many people that needed help in the whole Medicare industry, from talking to my mom about her experience with Medicare and Advantage plans and things like that. I thought, maybe this would be a good place for me to really help people in a different fashion than I'm used to. So honestly, I don't like insurance and I don't like paperwork, but I love what I do. I get to be the girl in the white hat. My company, Arizona Insurance and Retirement Services, is a place for people to come. That is, my services are always free of charge.
Mm-hmm.
I focus on educating people first and foremost on how Medicare works, how Social Security works, what to do if they're still working, and I kind of just take their hand and walk them through the process. And Medicare is it's not a fun subject, and it's boring and it's mundane, but I'm kind of an out of the box thinker. So I actually developed a comedy show about 5 or 6 years ago, and had great success traveling throughout Arizona to different retirement communities, and edutaining people is what I used to call it.
Ah.
Yeah, so it was really cool.
You're more focused on the results, and people are looking for results. They're not looking to be sold another product. They're looking for an outcome. And you've also done a lot of work with your book and your website, which I'm going to allow you to explain, because I'm sure you're going to be able to explain it better than I can. Let's talk about that, the I've Got It Covered experience.
Well, it all starts honestly with my mother. My mom and I were best friends. Her name is Vivian Arlene, and we were best friends. And I took her on a vacation after her husband passed in 2017 to New Orleans, just a girls' trip.
Hmm.
And I realized that she was just not as perky as she used to be. She was 81 at the time, and so when we got back from our vacation, I said, I want to go to the doctors with you and make sure you're okay. Well, lo and behold, I found out that she had congestive heart failure and her heart was only functioning at 40%.
Mm.
So she lived in California and I lived in Arizona, and she was insanely independent. And I get it. I know that's where her friends are and stuff. So she wouldn't come here. And I knew that sooner rather than later that, her time with me was going to come to an end. So I sat down and kind of just typed up a booklet of information that I thought I would need to know. And I sent it to my mom in October of 2018. It was about 50 pages. I sent it to her and she called me, and well, she cussed a little bit, to be honest. Uh, you know, she's like, what is this? It's so extensive. And I said, I know it's a little much, Mom. And she said, I'm going to do it because it's a labor of love. So she did it, and I received it back 3 months later on January 18th of 2019. And I called her, and, I just told her how much I appreciated her doing this for me, even though she wasn't feeling well. And, again, she said it was a labor of love, and it was 6:30 her time. And she said she was tired. She was going to take a bath and go to bed early. And I said, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow never came.
Mm.
My mother passed that night. She told me she loved me. She took her bath. She put her most comfortable pajamas on, and she went home to be with the Lord. And as much as I tried to prepare myself for it, there's only so much you can do mentally to prepare yourself for losing your parent. But I made the trip to California with that booklet in hand, and it took me about 30 minutes after sitting in her home, and sat down at her kitchen table, and I opened the booklet, and I really realized first it felt like she was holding my hand. It was just like she was just telling me she loved me and it was going to be okay. And literally all I had to do was make phone calls. I knew where every bit of information was. I knew where every document was stored. I knew every password, every account number, every phone number. And really, even right there in the middle of all my grief and all the craziness is when my aha moment came, that if this book is already making it this easy for me, I have to be able to bless other people with it. So that's what I did. I came home from California,
Hmm.
and sat in my office for about 6 months, and I created I've Got It Covered. And I created my own publishing company as well. It's all honestly in honor of my mom. And so I created Dava Publishing for Dana Artzer and Vivian Ankrum because I wanted to be able to publish my own book and have the rights to it. So I sent it to copyright on her birthday, September 4th.
Hmm.
And and the rest is just crazy. It's crazy how it's already out in, I believe, in 48 states. It's in Australia, it's in the UK, it's in France, and it's in Canada.
Yeah, it's certainly got a lot of traction, thousands upon thousands of copies sold already. Through all of this, it's interesting that I find that the most effective businesses that are focused on serving customers or clients often come through their own life experience. That is just amazing. So thank you so very much for sharing that. I would have thought earlier on a very painful experience. Now, with this book, I, I always say this, I've got a very special spot for book authors. Did you find this was easy to write, given everything that was happening at the time?
Honestly, Rick, this was my grieving process.
Hmm.
I have no idea. It's like I don't even remember those months.
Yeah.
I just I just sat there and it just poured out. It really did. And it was not an easy process because honestly, I am not an author. I am now, but
Yeah.
I'm a retirement advisor. And when I first did it, I did everything in Word doc.
Yeah.
And, I was proud of my creation, and I had sold many, many, many copies to clients and businesses that I do some advising work for. But I actually had somebody take a look at it. She was a graphic designer, and she said, let me help you with this. So we redid it, and she worked her magic on it, and it is absolutely perfect now. And it's no longer in Word doc, I'm happy to say.
I can only imagine, um, the amount of pain and grief that a family goes through. I have experienced it, and it's a sharp, acute pain that you feel like it's never going to go away. You don't want to focus on anything at that time apart from grieving and going through the different phases of acceptance, denial, and everything else we go through. The real focus at that point in time to help your clients is to make things easier. How much easier do you think it actually makes it to process this grief?
Oh my gosh. And I'm speaking from my very own personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was so incredibly easy as far as my task, what I had to do. Now, a lot of the people that I meet with say I have a will and a trust, and they think that they're good. And that's fabulous. I encourage people, to have a will or a trust, and all of the documents that you're supposed to have. But your family does not know where to find that information in most cases.
It's true.
When a loved one passes, it's not just about probate. It's about someone has to close their life. That means all accounts have to be closed. Life insurance policies need to be collected upon. Social security. I mean, there's just, if you're going to sell the house, people need to know, leave the electricity on and keep the gardener, because you're going to have to sell the house and it's going to have to look good. Utilities have to be turned off. There's so many different things. And this guide, what it does is, with between the guide and the organizer, there's an organizer that goes actually with this guide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the guide is where people will actually write in or record all of their information, such as account numbers, passwords, phone numbers, contacts, stuff like that. But what the guide does is, when it's passed to the family after someone dies, they open the book and it literally guides them step by step what to do, who to call first, in order of importance. And it tells you valuable tips that I've learned through my process. Stuff like you have the right to question the executor of the trust if you think something's not right. Have someone you trust accompany you to the mortuary to help you fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
I went by myself, and I can tell you, I thought I was okay. And I they had my mom's driver's license, they had all of her stuff, and I glanced over everything, signed off on it. Lo and behold, the first set of death certificates we got, which was like 2.5 weeks, her name was spelt wrong.
Oh my.
So yeah, so we had to order them again, and they came again, and her birth date was wrong. So that's why I say have somebody go with you to just look over things, because you may think you're fine,
But you're
but
not.
trust me, when they passed, you're really not. It's very, very hard.
We live very complex lives nowadays. Many of us do, I should say. And I reflect on some of the people I know, and they have one of the things you mentioned was having access to computer passwords and things of that nature. These are things that maybe I wouldn't have even considered. I'm gone, and it doesn't really matter to me. But if you're a business owner and you have lots of different important bits of asset here and there, and you need certain passwords to get into them and then sell them off or do whatever it is you need to do with them, this document would be critical.
And myself, I have two businesses, and for just being an insurance broker, I work with probably 14 different companies, and each company has like 3 different passwords. So it's crazy how hard it would be for someone to close my life if something happens to me. It
Yes.
would really be difficult, Facebook and, you know, honestly, when I did my booklet for my mom, I didn't put Facebook information in there. So her Facebook page is still up and I still get the little birthday reminders and things like that on Facebook. So
Oh,
I've learned to appreciate it now, but
yep.
um, what to do with your pets.
Yep.
A lot of families, they may not be able to take your pets. So in this guide are I think four different locations where you can take the pets that are non-kill shelters that will keep the pets for the rest of their life.
Yep.
These are our children.
This is an all bases covered approach, and it's a wonderful resource that you've created. I wonder if we can talk a little bit about the big C, COVID-19, and how it's affecting absolutely every one of us across the globe. Um,
Mhm.
how is this? Is this helpful for people that are preparing in a very rapid way?
It is. And the way that it's helping, it's a it's opening up the lines of communication for families
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is scared to talk about death, but everyone sees it all around us right now. Whether it's a family member or somebody you work with or a neighbor or someone. I am actually involved in a nationwide challenge right now. It's called the Thrift Dive I've Got It Covered 30-day challenge. And we have about 250 people nationwide that are participating in this challenge. And it's telling me that people are desperate, especially right now during COVID, for some peace of mind. And that is exactly what this challenge and this book is doing for people. It's opening the lines of communication.
Mm-hmm.
It is giving them, and it's a free challenge. They don't have to buy the I've Got It Covered system. The challenge is going to show them how to create their own if they don't want to purchase this one. So it's all about opening those lines of communication and getting people prepared in advance. Once you're prepared, you can get that off your plate. You don't have to think about it anymore. We've got enough to think about these days.
Absolutely. Um,
Mhm.
I'd like to talk about how a reader would actually read the book. Is it a page to page, cover to cover experience, or is it more like a resource book?
It is a resource guide.
Right.
So it is spiral bound. And like in the beginning, it's actually got the story of my mom, the last call to my mom. And then there's a table of contents, and then we've got valuable tips. And then we've got crisis communications that's in the front of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into first things first. So when something happens, it tells you what to do. You need to request death certificates. You need to probate the estate. You need to notify financial institutions. You need to contact service providers, notify government agencies. It tells you how to get death certificates, how many death certificates you're going to need, which is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the binder that goes with it, or again, you can make it, the binder is where you would place all of your documents at. So any extra ID cards, a copy of your Medicare, a copy of your Social Security card, any birth certificates, marriage certificates, annuity contracts, 401k information, all of your insurance policy information. And then in the back of each binder, because I've realized that a lot of people right now cannot afford an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for people to have these documents. So in the back of each binder is state specific. And when they order the binder, it comes with your living will, your last will and testament, your do not resuscitate order. It also comes with your durable power of attorney, your healthcare power of attorney, real estate power of attorney, limited power of attorney, and vehicle power of attorney, and tax power of attorney. So
It's a comprehensive plan, isn't it?
it is a complete guidance system. I tell you, out of all of the things that my mom left for me, jewelry, cars, money, well, not cars, but money, just the guide, honestly, is what matters the most because she loved me enough to do it.
Yeah,
You know, she
that's
wasn't
wonderful.
she wasn't at her best. So that's what we're trying to do. Me and my mom, we're loving it forward. You know, we're
Yeah,
trying to help people during one of the most difficult times. And my hope and my prayer is just this book will just bring them the same peace beyond all understanding that it brought me. I'm not saying I didn't grieve,
hmm,
but I am saying that I really did not have to work very hard to get things done, and it just made things so much easier for me.
Dana, thank you for sharing this. I know that even now, given the love that you have for your mum, that it would trigger feelings and emotions bring up to the surface again. But this is about living life by design, isn't it? This is about taking control and knowing that there is a start and there is an end to every life, and that we can't look away from this important topic. Now, I'd love to talk, if we could, a little bit more in detail about the challenge itself. Are there different stages? How does this operate for somebody who wants to get involved?
So the August challenge is in process right now. We will have, or I will have a new challenge that begins on the first of each month.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a 30-day challenge, just like the title says. And so what it is we have weekly Zoom calls or Google meeting, whatever the people are most comfortable with. And if they're not, then we record it and just email it to them. So these calls, basically, we go over, like, week one, we would get on the Zoom call and talk about, okay, this is the week that we're going to do this. We are going to get out our guide, our I've Got It Covered guide, or your own guide, and we are going to complete up to page, say, 21. We are going to also gather documents. We're going to do this, and this. Week two, we will have another Zoom phone call, and we'll talk about what we're going to do that week. But we're also talking about, and it's so cool because it's leading people down these rabbit holes that we never thought they would go.
Yeah.
As far as, like, people don't realize that if you go to a funeral home and you want to have a funeral, it's ungodly expensive. If you want to have a cremation at a funeral home, it's really expensive. But if you go to a crematorium, it's much cheaper, so much cheaper. The Neptune Society, just being planted with your ashes and then coming up as a tree, and just, just the conversations. People are making friends all over the United States because it's a challenge that we're all doing together. None of us want to do it.
No, I can see something though. I can see that, if I were dying and one day that will happen, that I could see myself smiling, knowing full well that I've made this transition for my family and loved ones much easier. It's
Uh,
so important.
that's the last thing we want to do, is burden our children and our spouses, our children, whoever we leave behind. We don't want to burden them with anything.
No.
And this is basically just what that will do, is it eases the burden, and it really, truly, it lovingly guides your family through the process of closing your life.
Yes. For everybody who's on the call, as is normally the case, I'm going to be making sure that you have the links back to Dana's publishing business, as well as her books and her challenge. Now, importantly, Dana, where are people going to find you when they want to work with you?
Okay, so, oh my gosh, they can find me so many different places. But if they would like to see the I've Got It Covered guide in its entirety,
Mm-hmm.
they can go to www.davapublishing.com. Remember, that's Dana Artzer Vivian Ingram. That's the DAVA.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they want to enter a challenge, enter a challenge, they can go to www.ivegotitcovered.net. That is my insurance website, but it's kind of all tied together. So there is there will be a challenge form, an entry form up on the 25th of August. And again, there's no entry fee. It's just really something so we can all keep each other motivated. I've had families just say, okay, everybody, let's do this. We've got 10 members. Let's start a challenge. And at the end, I give a certificate of completion, and you're done, and you're smiling, and your family is so much more at peace knowing that it's done.
This is something for everybody to think about as we come near to the end of the call, is that, leave your loved ones in a position where the pain is less. They can get through this transition quicker, easier, and certainly do it with Dana, with her help, because she knows what she's doing. She's clearly had a great deal of success with all of her wonderful work. And with all that being said, Dana, I'd love just to say thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you so much, Rick. It was truly my pleasure, and I really hope that my mother and I can bless many, many, many more people with this guide.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.